right, to move on to the next thing that is pneumatic. So we have our Ajax Air Chisel, we have our whizzer saw, and we have an impact wrench. So starting with the Ajax kit. So you'll see there's a difference between an Ajax Air Chisel and a standard commercial style air chisel. One of the biggest things is the size of the hose, or the operating volume, okay, on a system like this. All right, if I compare this to one of the Paratech hoses, you're going to see an obvious difference between the two. Also, so some of the striking force of this one's going to be a little bit higher than what a standard industrial air chisel is also going to give you. So with this one, you have a standard regulator. Okay. Now I did explain a little bit about the safety design of a Paratech hose. Okay, for this one, the safety is a little button here, and those two need to line up. So if it's off to the left or right, it's not going to open, and then you have that little button right there. So if you're messing with this thing and trying to figure out why it may not come apart, or why it may not go together, make sure they're connected, or make sure they're lined up. So here's the Ajax hammer. And then Ajax has two different style blades. In their kit we have three different styles. So we have a true chisel. You have a quick cut, and you have a panel cutter. Okay? So, I always mess this one up.
Quick cut is the Crescent Moon.
There you go.
Panel cutter is designed to go in along the panel. It has this guide on here to skin metal. This is used more for cutting deeper cuts. It can also skin metal. As the chief was saying, there's three different styles, and there's two styles of each of them. The collars that this integrates into the chuck on the chisel, or the air tool. You have a round one, and you have one with slots. It depends on the operation that we're doing. If I'm using the round one, the nice thing with that one is I can turn it to where I need it and swing the tool around. Where the other one comes into play is if I'm reaching down into a much deeper location. Alright, so if I have to get down between a person and a seat to chisel something, I can't get my hands down in there. If I use this grooved one, it locks in place, it doesn't twist. So it keeps it in that place, and then my manipulation of it is I can loosen this up, you know, pop it out, turn it 90 degrees. You know, and now it's in that position. So I got essentially 45 degrees in each direction I can play with.
Some of the parts and pieces we have to go with this: hearing protection. These are rubber isolators, so if you're going to be working with one of those longer bits, you can put the isolator on there just so you have something to hold on to. Okay, they're a little bit tight to get on, but don't worry about if you need to use it. By all means, go ahead and use it. We have air tool oil. So for normal operation, this only gets 2 or 3 drips at the air inlet, and then if you're using it for an extended period of time, then maybe put 2 or 3 more drips to it. Okay? This might be something where if you're the backup person, you might be running this for a little bit, you pass it off while you grab another tool, possibly work together, drain the air off of it, oil it, put it back together so we can keep going with it. This would be especially if we're using it to chip concrete for a longer duration.
That oil goes through that fitting there and lubes all the O-rings as it goes on through with the air pushing it. If you're setting this up at a rescue scene, like you said, 2 or 3 drops into the male fitting. We do it every training, we do it every maintenance, so if it's forgot, hopefully we're going to still be okay if we have it running on a rescue scene until we start rotating them out. But if you got time, 2 to 3 drips.
So this little guy, okay, this is the adapter that goes between Ajax hose, or I mean Paratech hose, into the Ajax air hammer. Okay, so this is what I said about there's 2 different sizes, 2 different size hoses that we have here: Paratech hose and Ajax hose. The reason we have this adapter is, think about the amount of air that this thing goes through, and when you constantly start changing out cylinders. Having this adapter now, we can run it directly off of the cascade system. Or if you need to switch out between something, so let's say you're doing an operation where you're using the cutoff saw, I want to switch from the cutoff saw into the air chisel, you don't need to switch hoses. So if we say I need the adapter for the Ajax, this is the little guy I'm talking about. Right? If we go to a scene and we use this, we're not coming home until somebody can produce this for me. Because we only have one of them and it costs us a few bucks to put it together. Alright? So don't put this thing in your pocket and forget about it. So that's the basics of the Ajax system.
The one last thing about the Ajax system is there's a top lid because no one ever memorizes everything. On the label it has everything about every bit information. Captain Nice, the two main cutters that we have, the quick cutter, which is that Crescent and the panel cutter, what PSI we're running those at.
Okay. 2 in the morning, when you get it out of the box, set it up. You know, 118 or 200, and the other one's 90 to 110. So have an idea of which blade you're using.
What's it? Something about concrete, which chisel you use for concrete?
The standard solid blade
Okay.
is what you'd be using for concrete. Alright.
What PSI for that?
And that's still going to be around like a regular jack, like a regular hammer swinging down to 90 to 110. Okay, for something like that. So we move over to the whizzer saw or the impact. Again, what pressure am I using? 90. So 90 to 100. I'm telling you, these gauges are not that exact. You get it like 110, go with it. Okay, so at least in the range. So the tools we carry are inside the box. Again, you have more oil. You have extra blades. You have the Allen wrench or the hex key to change the blade. We do have a few larger sockets which can be used. I think at one time this was like the standard socket for what's that?
Guardrails.
Guardrails. Okay, I can't guarantee it's the same anymore, but it gives you a start on that. We do carry a short set of metric sockets. And then if you need any other sockets, go into the large case, and that's going to set you up. Okay, so for the most of the work we're going to do, we have it set up with metric sockets. So if we ask you, hey, I need you to go get the impact set put together, right? What we expect at the end of it is you come with a tool that works. In one hand is the tool, and the other hand is the box of sockets. So that should make life a little bit easier as far as what we're going to work. As a safety thing, the impact gun should only be used with impact sockets. So, in the move-out toolbox on the other side, it has some silver sockets in it. They are not impact sockets. The black heavy-duty ones are going to be the impact sockets.
One thing with the impact driver is it does have forward and reverse. Is a push button on the bottom here. What we found is a lot of times we have it going the wrong way because you got big gloves on and you end up kicking it into reverse while you're pulling the trigger. You know, so we want it pushed in for forward, pushed back for reverse, and just make sure which way it's spinning as you're going.
All right, so let's DC all this stuff. We'll put it back on. We'll move on to